Concerned citizens of Queensland, today we gather to address a pressing issue that has plagued our communities for far too long, the housing crisis. It is a crisis that transcends political boundaries and demands urgent attention from all levels of government, as well as active participation from the private sector and civil society. The housing issue in Queensland has reached alarming proportions. Affordable housing has become increasingly scarce, pushing many individuals and families to the brink of homelessness. Yet, despite the severity of the problem, our governments, federal, state and local, have failed to provide adequate solutions, instead perpetuating a cycle of unfulfilled promises and misplaced blame. Let us first examine the role of the state government, led by Premier Stephen Miles. While Mr Miles has been quick to point fingers at property managers and the private sector, he conveniently overlooks his government's own failures in addressing the housing crisis. Under his leadership, Queensland has witnessed unrealistic promises and inadequate policies that have only exacerbated the problem. Rather than taking responsibility for their role in causing the crisis, the state government has chosen to deflect blame onto others. Furthermore, the federal government's policies have contributed to the strain on housing supply as well. Increased immigration and a rapidly growing population, which has surpassed 27 million people a decade ahead of projections, have placed immense pressure on our housing market. Yet, instead of implementing measures to alleviate this strain, the federal government has failed to adequately invest in affordable housing initiatives, leaving the burden to be shouldered by the private sector. Speaking of the private sector, it has long been relied upon to cover the shortfall in housing supply. Developers and investors have played a crucial role in meeting the demand for housing, but they are now being unfairly punished by government policies aimed at curbing property investment. This punitive approach fails to acknowledge the vital contribution of the private sector and hinders efforts to address the housing crisis. So, what are the solutions? It is clear that a multifaceted approach is needed, one that involves collaboration between governments, the private sector and community stakeholders. Firstly, we must incentivise developers to include affordable housing in their developments by offering them discounts or other incentives. This will ensure that housing estates cater to a diverse range of incomes rather than catering exclusively to the affluent. Secondly, we must cut through the bureaucratic red and green tape that often delays housing projects and drives up costs. Streamlining the approval process will allow developments to proceed more swiftly without compromising on the quality of construction. It is imperative that we strike a balance between efficiency and quality to meet the growing demand for housing. Additionally, we must invest in innovation in building techniques and train new tradespeople to keep pace with the demand for housing. Embracing new technology and construction methods will not only speed up the building processes, but also ensure that new builds meet modern standards in sustainability and durability. Importantly, we must recognise that the housing market operates in cycles and peaks and troughs driven by the various economic factors. While government intervention may be necessary to address systemic issues, we must also allow the market to function naturally to ensure that private investors can continue to make a profit from their investments. In conclusion, the housing crisis in Queensland is a complex issue that requires a comprehensive and collaborative approach to solve. It is incumbent upon all levels of government, as well as the private sector and civil society, to work together towards meaningful solutions. By incentivising developers, cutting red tape, embracing innovation and allowing the market to function, we can begin to address the root causes of the housing crisis and ensure that all Queenslanders have access to safe, affordable housing. Thank you.